Facebook has removed a fact check after Republican senators complained. So now this is has to do with abortion and an abortion activist's video. So now Republican senators Ted Cruz, Josh Hawley, Kevin Cramer, and Mike Braun had recently sent a strongly worded letter to Facebook accusing the company of bias against conservatives. Of course. Now at issue were two videos published by an anti-abortion group called Live Action and its founder Lila Rose. Now they were rated as being inaccurate according to an independent fact-checking group. The fact check was conducted by three doctors working with health feedback, and it was published on August 30th. And a link appeared next to the videos on Facebook, notifying viewers that it contained inaccurate information. So now, Live Action again is a pro-life group, and it's got about 2,000 followers. They were notified that the page had been characterized as false news. Now, when you knowingly do disinformation, then yes, you should be rated false news. But, Jeff, how do you know? How do you know it's false news? Because I believe in science. So now, the major claim here what the doctors were saying as they were pushing back in the claim by Miss Rose or Mrs. Rose, I'm not sure. It doesn't really matter. That she says, well, abortion is not necessary to save the life of the mother in any circumstance. Well, now wait a minute. That's not true. You have situations where they have preeclampsia, HELP syndrome, and placenta previa. Those are three conditions that threaten the life of the mother that end up leading to an abortion. These conditions make abortion medically necessary in order to save the life of the mother. It's super unfortunate and an incredibly sad situation that sometimes women who, by the way, do want their children have a situation where they can't, where they're unable to, and these emergency surgeries end up having to save their lives. Now, Lila Rose, she said, well, no, this is just being used as contraception. It's abortion on demand. Why don't you just deliver the baby earlier? Well, sometimes that's not feasible. It's only possible to deliver the baby early in these situations, which, by the way, kind of negates the fact that these are emergencies and they come up just randomly after symptoms already show that even if you could catch that beforehand, you would have to have a fetus that is developed enough to survive outside the womb, typically around 24 weeks. So that's not how science works. You just can't do that, right? Any earlier, the fetus will not survive. And that's incredibly sad and unfortunate, right? So now if you're actually pro-life, you might want to take that into account. By all means, save the fetus if you can. But if if you can in those conditions, which is incredibly difficult when it comes to current medical technology, maybe she'll be right in a good 10 years if we have significant advances in medical technology and saving lives, which would be, by the way, a wonderful thing. But understand, that is not possible right now. And there are women that die in these circumstances. For example, a woman named Sativa Halapanavar, she had died in Ireland because they denied her an abortion. So, sorry, Lila, you're just incorrect. And so now what do Republicans do when they're not right? Well, they attack the messenger, right? They scream bias. In this case, they scream bias at Facebook. Live Action and the Republican senators argued that the fact check could not be fair because two of the people involved had ties to pro-choice organizations. Got you. Putting out propaganda, like what doctors always do. Dr. Daniel Grossman is an obstetrics and gynecology professor at the University of California, San Francisco. But he's also on the board of Narrow Pro-Choice America Foundation. That means he's an abortionist. That's literally what they call him. And that's, in fact, what Lila calls him, as well as Dr. Robin Schickler. She is a fellow with Physicians for Reproductive Health, a group that works to improve access to comprehensive reproductive health care. Now, being comprehensive, they include both contraception and abortion services, especially to in their words, meet the healthcare needs of some economically disadvantaged patients. So, do they have a perspective? I think it's fairly obvious they do. But they're also doctors. And thanks to Roe v. Wade, women are allowed to make the choice whether or not they have an abortion. They don't have these doctors going around and saying you must have an abortion, you must abort that baby. No, that's not what happens. In fact, the opposite seems to happen in Republican areas, in Republican counties, Republican states, where they're trying to force people to have children that they may not want, or in situations where the health of the mother, the life of the mother is in danger, to have the baby anyway, which could kill both of them. How pro-life of you? So these doctors, they do have facts and they believe in facts, while these senators and this group doesn't. Anti-abortion activists have been shown lying about a lot of things, like the whole baby parts video, right? Or abortion making you sterile. This is what these crisis pregnancy centers will sell to people. They'll literally dress people up to look like doctors, but they are not doctors. They are activists in disguise and actually have no medical training. But they'll tell you, oh, you have an abortion, it'll give you cancer. It'll make you sterile. It'll do all sorts of terrible things to you. Except it doesn't. It just doesn't. There's no factual medical information to back any of that up. But here's the thing. Look, if you want to actually be pro-life, right? Really be pro-life, and also reduce the numbers of abortions, then look, you should actually be in favor of family planning. See, their movement, the pro-life movement, would have much better results if instead of lying and scaring people and using appeals to emotion in order to get people away from abortion, you help make the United States a better place to raise a child. I mean, that's obvious step number one. And look, even if they don't want that child or not equipped to raise that child, then maybe you should improve the foster system. Maybe you should allow adoption for LGBT couples who want children and can have them on their own. Maybe you should also ensure good education and health care, help for struggling parents, a change in the economy to make sure that nobody's left behind, guaranteed birth control, health care, family planning measures. All that stuff would actually go to help reduce the levels of abortion. That's the way to do it. Believe it or not, abortion is not used as birth control. It is not done lightly. I've heard it as being described as one of the most difficult decisions that you can make. And ultimately, there are a lot of women who faced that decision and thought, I don't regret it. And while there are probably some cases out there where they do, generally it's, hey, I don't regret it because I was able to actually plan my family to when I wanted to have that family instead of having it forced upon me. But see, here's the thing. These activists and these senators, all men, by the way, interesting, they're not actually pro-life. What it is it's about controlling women's bodies. And so they can't defend that position, obviously. And so what they do is they obfuscate, they lie, they attack the doctors, and they attack Facebook and claim that they have a bias against conservatives. Which, by the way, Facebook said, okay, we're going to take the fact check down. Okay, we're going to have it go through our fact-checking process, whatever. We're going to have an independent review. We're going to do all this stuff, right? Just to make conservatives who cry on Facebook happy. Ridiculous. No, the only bias here is a bias against facts. It's a bias against science. It's a bias against freedom for women to have control over their own bodies. That's the real bias here. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, You know the show. You know how I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent progressive media.